Alrighty then. Looks like we are starting things up. I'm just going to be going over and making sure that all my settings are correct for my sound and whatnot. So the actual workshop will begin at noon today, noon my time, and I'll start sort of welcoming everyone in around 11:45. So if you're watching this now, you're just a little bit early still. So hang on, bear with me. We'll be back shortly. All right, so I just switched over my microphone. I was using the wrong microphone. This is why we do the testing before everyone starts to show up. So I've got my right-hand man, my good buddy Carter Johnson in the chat room, and he's going to be sort of helping me with the technical issues and making sure everything is nice and smooth, at least as smooth as it can be. So Carter, let me know, give me a shout out in the Skype and let me know if this sounds good. All right, he says it sounds good. So it's 11:40. Let me go down and check out what we got going in the chat room. Look at this, we got 14 people in here already. That's awesome. Early birds. There you go. You see my man Carter Johnson posting in the actual chat room there. So go ahead and say hi to Carter himself, and be sure to log in as well. Like you see on the screen here, you can log in to Chatroll. I suggest using Facebook, but you can use whatever you like, and just give us a shout out and say hi. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, I didn't just scare you by all of a sudden talking out of the blue there. We're coming up to about 15 minutes or so out from the time that we're actually going to start this workshop and get down to the meat and potatoes, if you will. So I guess if you can hear me, that means you're doing something right. You've got the YouTube video playing, which is great. So yeah, just go ahead and have a chat with us down below the actual video itself. You'll see a little chat area. Say hi to us. I want to get to know you guys. I want to say hi to you before we actually launch into the actual presentation, and then I'll be held up and actually doing that whole teaching stuff, right? So yeah, reach out, say hi. Let's have some fun. Actually, I just realized I should probably go and grab myself a nice tall glass of water. So I'm going to be right back, probably in about 3 minutes, grab some water, and then we can start saying hi to everyone who's in the actual workshop. Talk to you soon, guys. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow coders, I've got myself a nice tall glass of water now. I'm going to take a sip and get things going. We're just about 10 minutes out from starting the actual workshop itself, so I'm going to just hop into the chat room. Oh, I see some people are already chatting away. I see Cheryl there. She said hi. Good to see you, Cheryl. Where's oh, she hails from Dallas, Texas. Good to have you. I see some other people here. Let's see. Oh boy, I'm gonna butcher names all day, so I'm gonna give the preemptive apologies now. But hey, I'm gonna give it my best darn shot. So it looks like we have Zalexis. Is that right? Let's see. Can I actually see where these people are from if I just click on them? This is clearly my first time doing one of these live workshop type things, so unfortunately I can't see where people are from. But by all means, let us know where you're from. Go in the chat box below, type it in. I want to hear from you. Looks like we also have Steven on the line here. A whole bunch of other viewers are sort of anonymous, so by all means log into the chat role window, which is below this video itself, so I can actually see your name and say hi to you. So yeah, welcome to so far Cheryl, Steven, and Zalexis. Good to have you. Let's see what else we got going on here. So tell me, guys. I mean, what are you studying right now? Like, what's your main focus? Are you stuck on a Java programming concept that you want to learn more about? Are you learning other languages? Are you learning things like Objective C for programming with mobile phones? Are you doing Java to pursue Android development? Yeah, tell me more about yourselves. Tell me more about what it is that you want to accomplish in your bigger goals, your bigger aspirations and dreams for your programming career. Because that sort of stuff is awesome to me. I love to learn about that, and I love to interact with the people that I'm actually interacting with and getting to attend these workshops. It's so cool. So yeah, post away. I'm gonna keep on drinking my water. And let's see, we are about 9 minutes out now. Plenty of time left. So get chatting, people. All right, let's kick it back in here. So let's go over some of the things that's been said in the chats. I think I saw Steve said where he was from. Let me just scroll down through here. Where did he go? From, oh boy, Indiana. Nice. And clearly Carter, my buddy, Carter's my right-hand man right now. He's sort of being my tech guy, my technical support, as well as he's going to be listening to you guys and sort of recording any questions that you may have as I'm going through this workshop. So by all means, ask questions in the chat room area. Might not be able to be fully active in the chat room once the workshop starts, but Carter will certainly record everything and organize it all for me so that I can actually get to and answer your questions near the end of this workshop. So by all means, ask Carter any questions at all. He should hopefully be able to answer them. Carter's not a very techie guy. He's not a programmer. He's more so of we'll call him a business guy, and so he'll be able to help you out with mostly all non-tech related or non-programming related questions. So anyway, it looks like Cheryl's in there. She's doing some dabbling in some Android development. Very cool. I did a little bit of a very minute amount of Android development myself, but I myself got stuck up with the visual aspect, the presentation layer, making the design of the actual apps look nice. I'm a programmer, not necessarily a designer, so that's something that I struggled with. Let's see who else. Oh, we got Ron and Carmen. Nice. Good to have you on board. Again, I'm terrible with the names of even cities apparently, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce Waltham. I'm sorry, I'm not going to pronounce it. Good to have you though. Let's see. Steve says he's trying to learn Java and just started wrestling with Ruby on Rails. Cool. So Ruby on Rails is certainly something that's becoming popular as well. Have a bunch of buddies using it. One thing I know about Ruby is that it tends to be a little bit more difficult as your application scales and gets bigger and bigger. So that could be an issue if you want to build out a huge like enterprise type piece of software, which is where Java really shines. Java's really good at enterprise level software stuff, so very cool. Let's see who else we got here. Steve's starting an Oracle SQL course. Nice. So I teach inside of the Java video tutorials course, I teach MySQL, so it's still SQL based, but it's just a different flavor of SQL. So Oracle's certainly very cool to use and very cool to get involved with because a lot of big companies are using it. Let's see, we got Android test automation from Ron. Very cool. I love test automation. I definitely go through some of that stuff in video tutorials. I'm all about it. Unit testing. Got someone from Ghana in here as well. Look at this. International. Again, with the names, I apologize. It says Umaru, perhaps. Hi to you. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce it, but whatever. I'm just going to commit to it. Umaru, welcome. Good to have you here. Let's take a look at the clock. We have about 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, before we're actually going to get started. So keep on chatting away in this group. It's so cool to see all these names and these people interacting. What else? We got Scott here. Scott from Lincoln, UK. Look at this. We do have an international group. He's learning part of his IT and computing degree with Open University also. Oh, also he plays with a bit of Python. Yeah, Python's a good language to pick up. I've heard a lot of people say it's fairly, like, one of the fairly easier languages to learn. So it's good to sort of dip your toes in the water with Python and then jump straight into Java. So it's cool to see a whole bunch of people using different languages. Ron's making a joke saying a business guy. That's right, Carter's a business guy. Give him a hard time. So look at this. What else we got? Tech Junkie Diva from Durham, North Carolina. It's funny, there's a Durham region. I used to live in Durham region for about 10 years of my life, but it wasn't in North Carolina. It was actually in Ontario, which is where I live, near Toronto. So, cool. All right, so I guess what we can do is you guys can keep saying hi to Carter. He'll hopefully keep on, talking back to you and being nice and all that stuff, because I'm, making sure that he does treat you all very nice. But let's get into sort of the different fun stuff that or at least I want to have going with you. I'm going to do a post real quick in my How to Program a Java group. I just realized I haven't done this yet. So actually give me 1 second. I'm going to create a post, and then I'm going to have you guys do a little bit of an interactive thing with me. So give me 1 second, and I will do that and be right back. Okay, everyone, good to have you on board. We are about 2 minutes away from getting into all the good, juicy stuff that we got going here. What I need you to do, real quick now, right before we start, is a quick favor. It's going to be fun. Can you jump over to Facebook right now? What I can do is have Carter paste a link into the chat room. Let me check and see if he has done that already or not. Let's see. I don't see it. So Carter, if you can go ahead and just paste in the link to my Facebook page. What I want you guys to do is go to the link that Carter pastes in, and you'll be able to scroll down and see. Actually, I can just bring this over onto the screen right now. You'll see that on the Facebook page itself, which is facebook.com/howtoprogramwithjava, you'll see that I have the, we are now live with our Design Patterns workshop with the link for people to join. If you can go ahead, click share on that for me so we can get as many people in here as possible and get them all learning. Click share and share that with all of your friends. You can put a little message in there saying, hey, I'm having fun with learning about design patterns. So go ahead and do that. And also, what I'd love for you to do is to go in and leave a comment in this actual post here. Leave a comment. Tell me where you're from. Say hi, where you're from. Maybe a little bit about yourself, or a fun little piece of trivia or something like that about yourself. Like for me, I play guitar. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I'm a big guitar player. I love it. I do that all in between when I'm recording podcasts and all that stuff. I love it. So yeah, post that in there, comment on there, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have Carter go through those comments that are left in this thread, and he's going to pick 3 people to actually win a copy of my How to Program a Java ebook. So we're going to go through, and throughout this entire presentation, we're going to be just sort of doing a random drawing and getting people to win the free copy of the How to Program with Java ebook. So you're actually going to get something by posting a comment. Cool? Cool. So let me flip this back over here, and let me go ahead and start, I guess. So we're right on the hour, and we can get right into the good stuff. So really quickly, if you guys are just sort of signing on, let me take a look and see how many people we have in. We have 28 people looking at the feed right now. We have about, what we got, 40 people in the chat room. So maybe Carter, let everyone know, Carter, that they need to go ahead, refresh this page, and click on the play button on the actual video itself above the chat room, just so we can get everybody in there and actually watching this feed if they aren't already watching. Cool? So one important thing to do while you're watching this actual feed itself is I want you to be in HD mode. So I'm sure you've been seeing this already on the screen, but it's important for you to be in HD mode because later on we're going to be doing some live coding, and the text can be a little bit small, so I want to make sure you're in high quality or high def, and I want you guys to maximize the actual screen itself when we get to the coding section, all right? Okay, so and also helpful tips at the bottom here. If you click on this little icon on the bottom right of the chat room itself, you can pop the chat room out into a new window, and sort of if you have two screens, you can throw the chat room on a separate screen. That way you can have the chat going as well as watching the actual presentation itself, which I find to be helpful. And if you happen to hear all these sort of blips or sounds that are kind of strange and annoying, it's probably because you have the sound turned on. So make sure that you click on the icon in the bottom right-hand corner of the chat area. Looks like a little speaker. You can click on it to mute all those annoying little sounds. Cool? So, excellent. Let's move on. So I have Steve asking a question, what exactly is a design pattern? Well, look at this. We're going to get right into talking about that, because design patterns, we're going to be talking about what the heck they are, why they're important in programming. So let's go ahead and launch right into the good stuff. So what you're going to learn today, which I'm so super excited about. This is my first time doing one of these things, and I'm really, really excited about it. And you know, hopefully the energy in here will be great. We'll have lots of people watching, and it'll be lots of fun. So what you're going to learn today is, like I said, what the heck a design pattern actually is. You're going to learn why design patterns are actually used in modern programming languages and practices. Okay, very important to know why it is important to use something like design patterns. I'm going to talk about who should use design patterns. Actually, I can tell you right now who should use design patterns. The hint is everybody. Everybody should be using design patterns, and believe it or not, you are most likely already using design patterns, and you probably had no idea you were using them, but I'll touch on that a bit later. And we're going to finally wrap things up with some actual live coding examples of design patterns that are used in the Java programming language. So, excellent. Let's move right on to this little tidbit of information. I like to let people know a little bit about myself, just so they can sort of connect with me a little bit and get to know who this person is, this Trevor Page is behind the microphone. So I myself, I live near Toronto, Canada. For probably most of you are in the States, that's the hat on top of Canada, the hat on top of the U.S. But I live sort of near, where is it? I live near Michigan. I'm quite near the border of, you know, the Niagara Falls and all that stuff. So I've myself been programming since the age of 10. I think my first program I ever created was in a programming language called QBasic, and I think it was like a simple sort of text-based role-playing game. Because I don't know, when I was 10 years old, that's what I wanted to play. That's all there was. That was before the internet really existed. So I was playing role-playing games, text-based role-playing games on bulletin board systems. So I created my own little game. I got my bachelor's degree in computer science, which was lots of fun. I had some of the best years of my life in university. But what I learned from university is that I probably spent too much time having fun with my friends and not enough time paying attention in school, because when I got out into the working world, I didn't know a whole lot about programming. So I worked professionally as a programmer for I think just over 5 years, and had a lot of fun doing it. I see there are some people in here that I used to work with, like my other friend Steve, Mr. Steve Cunliffe is in the chat room right now. I used to work with him. Had lots of fun in my professional programming career. I actually attained the title of senior software engineer, which I was very, very proud of. I did that in about 5 years, which is sort of, you know, one of the quicker ways that you can get there. I think 5 years is sort of the minimum before you can get promoted to senior software engineer, so I was really proud of that. I published an ebook on Java programming back in 2012, in late 2012. And I was also proud that the ebook, the one I'm actually giving away, if you leave a comment on that Facebook page that I mentioned before, Carter, if you can go ahead and paste that link in again for people, go ahead and leave a comment, tell us who you are. You'll get a copy of this free ebook. And we're giving away 3 of those. And this book I published in 2012, it actually rose to the ranks of the #1 bestseller on Amazon. So I was really proud of that. It was my first real book I'd ever published, so it was just incredible. I was very honored and very humbled by that. Super, super cool. I also host a blog and a podcast on Java, and that I'm also really humbled with. I'm getting like tens of thousands of people every month coming through and visiting the blog and listening to the podcast, and there's lots of interaction, lots of questions, helping out a lot of people, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love to teach. People tell me I'm good at it, and plus I like it, so it just makes a whole lot of sense that I just keep on doing these types of things, which is why I'm so excited to be doing this now. I love it. And I have at the bottom here, and Google called me to interview me for a coding position. That's just a fun little thing that happened fairly recently, probably just at the end of last year. They called me, and I actually went through their grueling interview process and learned a lot about Google and the way they do actual interviews and really the way to do a good job at interviewing coders, because it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. But it was lots of fun, and if you yourself have done it before or are lucky enough to go through it, it's an amazing experience. So, all right, cool. Enough about me. I want to talk to you guys about this really cool giveaway that we're doing. I really want you guys to stick around until the end of this workshop, because at the end of this webinar, we're going to have an exclusive Java video tutorials package available. Okay, this is a package that I put together just last week. I put it together, and I think it's really, really cool. It's packed with tons and tons of value, and what's really even cooler is that at the end of this thing, we're going to be giving away a copy of this. So anyone who actually decides to purchase, you absolutely don't have to purchase this. I don't want to sell you on it if you don't want it. But if you do happen to want it, because I do think it's really good value, we're actually going to be instantly refunding a single person who actually makes a purchase. We're going to instantly refund the full amount of the purchase, so they're going to be getting it for free. So someone's going to be winning that at the end, so be sure to stick around for that giveaway. All right. Cool. Let's get right down to business. So what the heck is a design pattern? Actually, let me take a quick sip of water before I keep going. Cool. All right, what the heck is a design pattern? So design patterns are used across all programming languages. It's not just Java, ladies and gentlemen. Design patterns actually outline a preferable or best solution to a common problem. So that's the key thing there, is the common problem. So think about, for me, I teach a lot about web programming. So think about web programming. Think about a typical sort of use case of someone who is in the web programming space. They need to handle requests that are coming in to their server. So let's say someone goes to javavideotutorials.net and hits the enter key. Well, that's a request that's going to go to my server. My server needs to handle that request, receive it, handle it, figure out where to sort of delegate that request to, and then decide what to show the actual visitor once it all gets said and done through all the different layers that it has to go through. So that's a very common problem that needs to be solved, and believe it or not, this has a preferable or a best solution that exists for that particular problem. There are obviously tons of problems out there that need solving in the programming arena, and there are tons of problems that have already been solved over and over again in probably varying degrees of success or failure, because I know I've done it before myself many, many times. But it's all about finding the best solution. So you can think of them as sort of like templates for how to solve problems that everybody has. There's sort of a formula that you can follow to solve these kinds of problems. So design patterns sort of evolved from people having to solve the same problem over and over again, but then identifying which of those solutions tend to work best over time. So I said that before, but obviously I'm re-emphasizing this particular point because that's what design patterns are all about. Learning from the past mistakes that people have made and the past successes, and putting it all together into sort of an action strategy that you can use to best solve problems. All right, cool. So obviously design patterns are important to learn then, because it's like taking, the wisdom from lessons learned in the past and applying them to your software now to avoid all of those bugs and problems. So I mean, I wouldn't just, let's say I jump in and start programming a new, application I'm throwing together. I wouldn't go and build out every single aspect of this program myself from scratch, because that would be like reinventing the wheel, and we don't like to reinvent the wheel. There are already people who've gone out there and solved these kinds of problems for us, and either they provide it to us as a solution in a library package, or they've outlined these things called design patterns that tell us a best approach or a best way to solve these common problems. Now, last little note is that design patterns can be language specific. So there are certain design patterns that apply across all programming languages, at least modern object-oriented programming languages, and there are some that are specific to some languages. Good example of that is design patterns around exception handling in Java. Java has exception handling. Things like, you've seen the keywords throw and catch and try. That's all handling exceptions, right? Java has that. Other programming languages also do, but some do not. So a good example is like Objective-C. I don't believe Objective-C for iPhone and iPad programming, I don't believe they have any sort of exception handling in there. So if there's a design pattern around exception handling, like a best solution to a common problem, it just wouldn't exist in Objective-C. So it's only in Java. So sometimes design patterns can be language specific. So like I said, as programmers, we don't like to reinvent the wheel. Obviously, we strive to avoid it. And we want to obviously learn from other people's failures and successes to actually breed ourselves better programs. We should strive to be good programmers and better programmers every time we build something new. I compare design patterns to having street smarts. So if you look at myself as an example, someone who went through university and didn't really ever build an application where I had a user base, I just went through programming in university and had strictly academic smarts, okay, if you can call them that. But when I went out into the real world and started actually applying the knowledge I learned in university to my jobs, I was a bit clueless because I didn't have these quote-unquote street smarts that other people could have if they'd already gone through and designed an entire program from start to finish and actually had people using it. You learn a lot when you have real people using your code, okay? I know, I've learned that lesson over and over again. So design patterns can really help you there and really help you to go in the right direction when you are creating a new program, okay? And I have this great little quote from George, who's this? George Santayana. He says, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it," all right? So it's like, if you don't follow your history lessons, you're doomed to repeat history, okay? So I mean, if it's good history, that's great, but if it's bad history, obviously that's not so great. So that's why design patterns are so critical in modern programming, is because we want to learn from other people's mistakes and go forward. All right, so hopefully there I've explained that quite well, and you're nodding your head saying, yes, Trevor, I get it. Please move on, please move on. If you're saying that, that's fantastic. That was my intention. So let's move on. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. So, design patterns in Java. Java design patterns, and not just Java, pretty much all design patterns, can be broken down into three main categories. All right, creational, structural, behavioral. All right, sounds strange, sounds weird, but that's all right. We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to give you some real examples. So, first of all, let's tackle creational. So, a creational design pattern is it actually deals with the creation mechanism within Java or within any programming language. So with Java, when we create an object via the new keyword, N-E-W, new. You've probably done it before. You've created new objects. It's called instantiating them. What we're talking about here is a design pattern that is described as a creational design pattern, sort of gets itself involved with that creation process, the creation mechanism. All right. So, for example, a really good example that's commonly used that you may have even heard about before is called the Singleton design pattern. All right. A Singleton pattern is used to actually restrict the creation of an object to just one instance. We're going to get into that with an example, but let me sort of delve into it a little bit more now. Restricting the creation to just one instance is what it means is that you cannot physically create more than one instance of a particular object. So let's say, for example, we have an object called chair, okay, or car. Let's say car. I like car. We have a car object. if we wanted to apply the singleton design pattern to the car object, we would, write some code and make it in such a way that someone wanting to use that car object cannot create more than one instance of it. There's only one car. There can only ever be one car. If there are no cars, we can create one, but then once there is one, you're constantly using that same car. So I guess car is not a great example because, why the heck would you want to do that? Why the heck would you only want one car? Well, when it comes to creational design pattern like the singleton pattern is useful for objects that have sort of heavy footprints with respect to creating themselves. So let's say, for example, we have an object that interacts with a database. When we have an object that interacts with a database, it's quite expensive, not in terms of dollars, but in terms of actual programming or sort of computational power. So it's expensive to establish a database connection when we actually create the actual connection itself. It's expensive. It's hard for the computer. So what we want to do is we want to restrict our object so that it only is created once, so it only makes one connection. It only has to do one connection because that's the expensive part. All right? Anyway, we'll get into that with an actual real-world example in just a moment, so I don't want to go too far into there. Another type of design pattern can be categorized under structural patterns. The example, a good one I found, is called the Flyweight pattern, but the structural patterns in general, it says that it eases the design by identifying a way to realize relationships between entities. It's really just a complicated way of saying, let me look at all of these objects, and let me see if I can identify something that's sort of similar between them in terms of the relationships that they have with each other. Okay, so what do they have in common? Well, like I said, flyweight pattern, which is also another thing that we're going to get into with an actual live coding example. Oh, hold on a second. I see. Oh, so I was just looking for questions. I peeked over, looked in the chat room, and I see someone's asking a question in the chat room. Just to let everyone know, by all means, ask any questions you have right now in the chat room. My good buddy Carter Johnson is going to be taking down these questions and putting them into a document for me, and we'll have a formal sort of Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions, throw them in there, throw them in the chat. I won't be looking at them right now, but like I said, Carter will. He'll put it all down for me, and we'll tackle those questions. In any case, getting back on topic here, we have the flyweight pattern. So the flyweight pattern is cool. It's a structural design pattern because it looks at the relationships between objects that share common properties. So if you have, this is really important and really helpful if you're going to be creating a high volume of objects. So if you have a whole bunch of objects that you're going to be creating, let's think hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of instances of an object. That gets really, really heavy on memory usage. You'll run out of memory pretty quick when you have millions of objects being instantiated. Let me take a quick sip of water. So, I mean, you want to have it in such a way that you don't want to run out of memory, right? So what the flyweight pattern does is it allows you to look and sort of have relationships that or properties that are similar between objects and identify them and sort of break it down so that you don't have to have a million different instances. So the example we're going to be looking at, sort of a good example I found online, is with coffee. So let's say that you have a coffee shop, and in the coffee shop people place orders for their coffee, and they can order different flavors of coffee. So let's say you have just straight black coffee, you have I don't know Colombian, you have I don't know vanilla, hazelnut, who knows? You have a set of different flavors for coffee. If you represent that in terms of object-oriented programming, you're going to have a coffee object which has a property of flavor, right? So, or at least a coffee type. So if you were to have to instantiate or create a million different coffee objects, it would be cool if you could sort of make it so that they are broken down into a finite and small subset of coffee objects. So you can take that million different objects and you can sort of boil it down into 5. Okay? So you can say if someone wants a vanilla coffee, just use this object because this is the vanilla coffee object. If someone wants to get a hazelnut coffee, look at this object. Okay? So that way we only have created 5 of them in memory, but we can sort of point them to one of the 5 whenever they want to order it. Okay? Now you've seen this before. I say hint strings. Strings are immutable, and strings have sort of this property where if you try to create 2 strings that have the same content, it's actually the same object in memory. It points to the same object. So that's a really good example of the flyweight pattern sort of in use in the actual core language of Java. So let's move on to behavioral. Behavioral is the sort of last different way to structure these design patterns. I shouldn't use the word structure, sorry. Organize these design patterns. So the behavioral pattern is a little bit different from structural in that it looks at the interaction between objects. So the physical interaction between object A and object B. So a really cool design pattern that I've used before is called the observer pattern. Okay, it's a behavioral design pattern, and you can actually get notified of the change of a state of an object that's being observed. So one thing, let's say a good example of this will be perhaps like a bank account and a person. Will that be a good example? So you have an observer and a subject. So the key thing here is that you have something like, let's say, a bank account, and you have a piece of code that's observing the bank account. And then you have a subject that wants to be notified about that bank account. So let's say I'm the subject. I own the bank account, I'm the subject. The bank account itself is a completely different object. And I want to be notified whenever there is a large purchase made from my bank account. So if something like over $1,000 is spent in one transaction, I want to know about it. But in terms of programming, we don't want to couple the subject with the observer. We want to have a loose coupling, which means I as a subject don't want to have to know anything about what I would like to be observing. I don't want to have anything to do with the bank account in terms of an object-oriented programming type approach. I don't want to have to do anything with it, because that means if I was directly tied into my bank account, if anyone made a change to the bank account, I might need to make a change to myself, my code as well. And I don't want to do that, because if you just change one thing in one place, you don't want to have to worry about the side effect of that change propagating out to hundreds or thousands of other touch points, right? We want to sort of separate our concerns. We want to have loose coupling. So that's what we can use the observer pattern for. The observer pattern can take a look at the subject, the observer can take a look at the bank account, and if the bank account happens to make a large transaction, then it can say, okay, boom, we have greater than $1,000 spent. So I want to let the subject know what the heck is going on, which is myself. That way, there's only one place that's tied into it, so that if there's any changes, the change only has to be made in one place. So that's a really nice way to sort of package everything together. All right. Whew. So those are the three sort of broad categories of design patterns, and now I want to go into actually showing you a live coding example. But I think let's jump right into the singleton pattern itself. So like I said, singleton pattern, if we go back, that is a creational design pattern, and let's take a look at a real world example. So let me flip over to my, where is it, coding environment. Oh, I don't want you guys to be able to cheat. I've already done some work. So what I want you guys to do is make sure that your screen, the actual screen that you're watching, the live video that you're watching, make sure it's full screen. So go ahead and double click on it and make sure it's full screen, because you'll probably have some issues reading the text if it's not full screen. And make sure that you're in high definition mode. Okay, make sure that you've got you click on that little gear that is located in sort of the bottom right hand corner of this video, and make sure you're at 720p, which is the highest level. All right, so let's dive into Singleton. So I just have a little Singleton package here that I've created, and I'm going to create a new class inside of the Singleton package. Now, the Singleton object can be anything. So, I mean, like I said, it could be a database type access object, which is what we call a DAO, D-A-O, database access object. It's that type of object that you only want to have to instantiate it once, because it might be a bit expensive to instantiate. So we only want to do it once. I mean, for this example, I won't use a data access object. I'm just going to call it a singleton object, just to be not very creative with my naming strategies. Excuse me. So, and actually, let me start with singleton, not object. Let me do the application, because I need to actually have something that's runnable. So I'm going to go ahead and create the public static void main method, which is actually what we use to run our programs. And I'm going to say finish. So now it's created the singleton application, which gives me my public static void main method, which is, like I said, used to run the applications. So let's just put a pin in that for now, and let's go ahead and create that singleton object that I was initially creating. So let me go class, Singleton object. Boom. Very good. So there's our Singleton object. So now let me go back to the application and let me show you what it looks like if I don't apply any design patterns to this. So I'm going to go ahead and say Singleton object from here, call it object equals new Singleton object. So that's how we instantiate it. Remember, this is a creational design pattern, so it deals with the instantiation and the creation mechanism of an object. So this is the new keyword that I was talking about, which is related to the creational sort of aspect. But what I'm going to do for demonstration purposes is I'm going to create maybe, I don't know, let's do 4 of them. So I'm going to create 4 different Singleton objects. I guess I need to assign the type to all of these guys. And I'm going to output the results of the actual objects to my console window so that you guys can see something important. So I've instantiated 4 objects and I'm outputting them to my my actual sorry, I'm reading the chat room right now just to see. Be sure you have in full screen keeps the size of the frame. I mean, if you have any questions about getting it to full screen, or if you're having troubles seeing it, yeah, just let Carter know. Hopefully Carter can fiddle around with stuff and make sure that you guys can see this properly, because I want to make sure that you guys all see this. So yeah, let me know, Carter. Let me know if there is problems and you can't figure it out. Carter, just send me a Skype message and we can maybe do some technical stuff. But yeah, anyway, let me jump back into this. So this is a good example because we've instantiated 4 different objects and we're actually looking at the objects in memory. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. All right, I'm going to run this code and I'm going to save it. And here in my console window, you see that it outputs the actual sort of representation of the memory location on my computer. So when I ran this code on my computer, it created 4 objects in memory, and you can see sort of the address where those objects are located. 4 different addresses. And the important thing to remember is that, or to look at, is that they're 4 different memory addresses. So that means that there's 4 different objects that have been created. Which, when we're talking about Singleton, that's not what we want. We want it to be 1 instantiation, 1 object at most. So now we apply the actual Singleton pattern, design pattern, to our code. How do we do that? Well, we need to make sure that these people can't instantiate the objects themselves. We need to take that away from them. So how do we do that? Well, one trick to do that is to actually go in and make the constructor. So this is the constructor itself. We make it private. Okay? So if it's private constructor, this Singleton application won't be able to see the constructor, so it's actually going to give us some problems. So you'll see exactly what I'm talking about here. So let me go to the Singleton object and create this private constructor. So I'm going to do private Singleton object, like so. And believe it or not, that's it. That is now a private constructor. So this is a private constructor that stops outside code from instantiating this object. Constructor. There we go. So now let me save this and watch what happens when I save this code. It's going to compile the code and boom, now we have errors. So what's the error? The constructor Singleton object is not visible. So now we've taken away the ability for them to instantiate the object themselves. Okay, that's step 1 of this process. But obviously we want to still have them be able to access the object itself. We want to have them be able to use it, because otherwise what's the point? So how do we do that? Well, we're going to be doing something called creating an instance variable. So I'm going to create a private, let's see, static Singleton object. We're going to call it an instance. So it's kind of, I put it as all capitals because this is going to be sort of like a constant. It's not going to change. And I'm going to initialize it as null. Okay? So static here is important. And because I want to create a method that will actually grab that instance. So if I'm going to create a getInstance method. I'm going to create a public static method that returns a Singleton object, and I'm going to call it getInstance. Okay, so this is actually going to allow me to return the instance that I've created. Okay, so I'm going to say return instance. Okay, this is not correct fully yet, but you get the idea. So we have this instance, which is a singleton object, which is static, and I have a get instance, which returns that particular instance. So what does this look like now? How do we use this get instance? Well, we don't have this new singleton object anymore. We got to get rid of that part of the code. And what we need to do is we need to access it via the static method that we just created. Excuse me. So if you're already familiar with static, then you have no problem with this. If you're not familiar with static, well, we'll see exactly what a static accessor looks like. So instead of saying new singleton object, I'm going to say singleton object dot. And see, when I say dot, I can have get instance, okay? And it has this little tiny s here. You probably can't see it, but it's a little tiny s to say that it's a static method. So I'm accessing it in a static way. So that means I'm not instantiating an object, a singleton object here at all. I'm just using the class reference to get the static reference to the actual instance itself, okay? So let me paste that in, and let's first take a look at, again, this is close to being done, but it's not done yet. Let's go and run this and see what happens. When we run it, we just get nulls. So that makes sense because we're getting nulls because I've instantiated, or not instantiated, I've initialized it as null here. So what do we need to do, right? We need to go into the getInstance method itself, and we need to do some fancy work. We need to do something that says if the instance itself, okay, if the instance object is null, so if it is null, then we're in a situation where the object has not yet been created, so we want to create it. So we can actually say instance, like so, equals, so we're assigning the instance to the instance variable, equals new singleton object. All right, and we're able to say new here because this is inside of the singleton object class. This is a private constructor, but because it's private, we're allowed to access it from within itself. So we're allowed to say new here and only here. So now look what happens. If the instance, when they say get instance, if it's null, we'll create a new instance. Otherwise, if it is not null, it's going to skip this piece of code. And I guess maybe I can make that more clear by putting my little brackets, just to show you that that is only, the scope of that is only here. So it's not going to create a new instance. It's just going to return the one that already was created once. Okay, and that's it. That's the beauty of the singleton design pattern. There's a few other things that can go on in here, but I don't want to get into complex issues in this particular workshop, just because there's plenty more to talk about. I don't want to get tied down in details, but if you're interested, you can look up how to make this thread safe. So there's thread safety. If you're looking at multi-threading environments, there's a way to make this thread safe and apply that to the singleton design pattern. But I don't want to get into that. Let's go back to our code and let's rerun this to see what happens. Okay? If I've done this correctly, there we go. You see 4 objects. All of them have the exact same memory location. So that means it was instantiated once and only once, and every other accessor trying to get it will just get that single instance itself. It's only going to be created once and only once, and we're going to be using that same one over and over again. Beautiful. There you go. That's the singleton design pattern in action, coded live in front of you by yours truly. Always lots of fun. So let's move on. I think we have something fun coming up. Let me just take a sip of water. Let me flip on back to my presentation, which is here, I think. So that was a singleton pattern. But now it's fun time. So my good buddy, if he did it correctly, Carter went out and actually picked someone who's left a comment on the thread. So let me just have a look and see if anyone has done that yet. I don't know if anyone has. Has everyone not gone and put in their Facebook comments? I can check myself just in case Carter missed it. Let me go to facebook.com. If you haven't yet, go there, because clearly now you have a very good chance of winning a free copy of my ebook. Let me take a look. So it looks like we do have a few comments, so Carter just hasn't picked one yet. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one at random. Let me say number 2 in the comments list is T. Stephen Barker. So there you go. Congratulations to T. Stephen Barker. You have won one copy of my How to Program with Java ebook. So if you want to go ahead and comment on this thread itself, Carter, if you can go ahead, post that link back into the chat room so that people can go in there and leave a comment and win one more of the 2 remaining copies of the ebook for free. So yeah, go in there, say hi to us, and let us know where you're from. Maybe tell us something quirky about yourself that you think is funny. Put that in the comment, and because I want to go through and read them all at the end. That'll be really fun. So there you go. Congratulations to T. Stephen Barker. Carter, can you go ahead and put his name in there with his profile so I know how to get in contact with him and send him his book? All right. Very cool. Let's move back on to the next real-world example, which is the flyweight pattern. Okay. Flyweight pattern, like I said, is a structural pattern. It's part of the structural category. And it sort of incorporates some ideas of the creational pattern as well, because this is the one where we have the coffee shop, and we can only create a certain number of types of coffee, because we're going to have millions of coffees being created, but we only want to sort of narrow it down to a finite set of them because of wanting to save on memory space and memory usage. All right. So let's flip over to the coding example, which is here. Let's go back into the flyweight. So this one, the flyweight's going to take a little bit longer. Let's see what we can start with. So let me start with the actual, let me call it a coffee shop. So I'll use, that's what I can use as my actual application itself. Previously I used the Singleton, Singleton application, but now I'm being a little bit more creative and saying coffee shop. And I'll assign it to the public static void main, make it an application type runnable file. Cool. And now what do we want to do here? Well, we want to have people coming into the coffee shop and placing orders, right? So let's create an order object to represent someone actually ordering a coffee. Boom. So they have an order. Let's see, what else do we need to create? Well, I actually need to obviously create the coffee object itself. Coffee, coffee, coffee. Let's see, what else? So inside of the coffee object, we need to have a flavor of the coffee, right? So let's do private string. Actually, let's not call it flavor because I spell flavor with a U, and some people may be offended by that. So maybe I'll call it a coffee type to be what's the word, politically correct. Cool. So I have a coffee type, and let's see. We also probably want to maintain. I'm going to maintain a map in here. I think a map of the coffees themselves, and you'll see why I'm doing that in a second. We'll call it coffees. Make a new hash map. If you're not familiar with a hash map, what that is, it's a data structure. I definitely teach this inside of my Java video tutorials course. So you'll see how you can get a copy of the Java video tutorials course after we're done teaching here. Very cool course. You'll learn a whole lot. It's really quite fun and interactive. So I'm creating my coffees map. And I want to do something with respect to when people place an order for a coffee, we want to make sure that they're only getting one of a handful of types of coffees. So how do we do that? I haven't done this example in a while, so I'm kind of going to be winging it. So you're going to see some real good winging action in front of your eyes. Let's have a public coffee. It will return a coffee object, and let's say call it get coffee. For now, let's say we'll return null because I don't want it to have an error showing. And let's see. So when we get the coffee, what we want to do is, like I said, we want to, when it's creating coffees, when we're getting orders for coffees, we want to be able to only create a finite set of these coffees. So what we're going to do is, let's say when they say get a coffee, they pass in the coffee type. So they say, I want to get a vanilla coffee. Okay, that's what they asked for. And let's then go in and say the following. We'll take a look at our coffees map. Okay, we're going to say we're going to see if the coffee map contains the type of coffee that we're asking for. So this map is going to store all the types of coffees using a key and value pair. So the key is going to be the actual coffee type. The value is going to be the actual coffee itself. All right. So if the coffee map contains the coffee type, so if we've already put in our, let's say, vanilla coffee, then we just want to return that. We just want to return the coffees dot get the actual value. We're getting the value based on the key. Okay, so that'll just return that particular coffee. Otherwise, if that particular coffee type is not already in our map of coffees, we can say, we can add that to the list. So we'll say coffee equals new coffee. And let's see, we need to have a coffee type. Let's say coffee.set, coffee. Oh, I haven't created a setter yet. Sorry, my apologies. I need to create a setter method for the coffee type. Let me go ahead and do that. I will automatically do my coffee type getter and setter. I use a shortcut key for that. So again, that's taught inside the Java Video Tutorials course. If you don't know what that was, you'll learn that early on in the course. I'm going to go ahead and create a coffee. I'm going to say coffee.set coffee type. And I'm going to set it equal to the actual coffee type that we've passed into this get coffee method. All right. So let's see now. We want to add this coffee, since it already is not in our list or in our map, we want to add it to the map. So we do coffees.put to put this coffee into the map. And we put our key, which is the coffee type. Remember, key is coffee type. Value is the actual object itself, which is coffee. All right. And then we can say return coffee. Excellent. So this is, you see how we're kind of playing, again, sort of with the creation of the object. Even though this is classified as a structural design pattern, it's structural because we're identifying the relationships between the coffee objects, the properties that they have, which in this case, the property is the coffee type. But we're still sort of playing around with some design patterns, some creational stuff as well. Even though we're not physically changing it, but you see what I mean. We're disallowing the duplicate coffee to be created by just returning the already created instance from the map. So it's similar, kind of like the instance, the get instance that we did. This is kind of like what it's doing here. So fantastic. Okay. For an order, let's see. When they place an order, they want to place an order for a coffee. Let's just call it a coffee. Again, I'm going to create my getter setter. And good to go. So let's see if, actually, maybe I don't want to create a getter setter. Maybe I want to create a constructor. Maybe I want to create an order constructor that takes in, let's see, what would it be? Would it take in a coffee type? Well, let's play around with this. Like I said, apparently I didn't prepare too well. I have a cheat. I can go and take a look at my code that I already cheated with and did beforehand. But again, I want you guys to get an authentic programming experience here. This is how real programmers do it. They run into problems all the time and have to debug them, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and create an order. So we're back to the coffee shop itself. This is where the orders come in. We'll create a new order. And let's say order.set, and it needs to create a coffee. So now let's say coffee dot, oh, I didn't make it static. There we go. I want to get a static reference to the coffee itself. So let's do public static coffee, and then we might need to make the map static as well, just to make sure everything is kosher. So now I can say coffee dot get coffee, and I can pass in the type of coffee that I want to get. So let's say I want a vanilla coffee. All right, cool. So now, and let's output that. Let's output the order itself. Let's say order.get coffee. Do I have my get coffee created? Yes, I do. Very good. Set coffee, get coffee, sounds good. All right. So now we're going to go, and this is where the flyweight pattern comes into play. So far, we haven't really seen what the flyweight pattern is all about. Now we're about to. So like I said, let's pretend we have millions of objects that need to be created. I'm going to represent those millions of objects with this little set of orders. What do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we have 9 different orders. Right now they're all ordering vanilla coffee. Did I spell vanilla correctly? Vanilla, 2 L's. I think that looks better. I'm kind of a grammar / spelling police, so I don't like it when I misspell something. So let's see. Okay, we got 2 vanillas. Let's say we have just a straight black coffee. Let's say we have a hazelnut, maybe a second hazelnut coffee. were. I'm not, but hazelnut. Maybe back to a black coffee, etc., etc. So we see I've created, or I'm creating, asking to create 1, 2, 3 different types of coffee here. Vanilla, black, hazelnut. All right. If I've done this correctly, the flyweight pattern will realize that once we've already created one vanilla coffee, we can go ahead and reuse that same object. We don't want to create yet another vanilla coffee. We want to use the one that was already created for us because we want to save on memory space. Okay? This is a simplistic example of looking at the relationship of the properties of objects. Okay? In this case, there's only one property, which is the coffee type. But you can see how you can get more complex with this. And if there's more properties, then you can sort of figure out where the relationships are and where you can sort of cut down on duplicate objects. Okay? So let's go ahead and run this. Hopefully, if all goes well, I will see what it is I expect to see. Excellent. Okay, so I did it correctly. So here you see it's created coffee objects. The first two are the same. You see they're identical memory locations, which is great. The third one is different. So that's represented by the fact that I created 2 vanillas. So I said vanilla, vanilla. So the representation of the vanilla object is in this particular memory location, the 1FE5052B. That means vanilla, believe it or not. The third one is different because that's a black coffee. So the black coffee are represented by the 74B65, blah, blah, blah. That is the representation of that one. And then it changes again because I have hazelnut. But you can see when you look at these, if you were to group these together and sort of group them down to the unique objects, you'll only get 3 unique memory locations. One can be mapped to vanilla, one can be mapped to hazelnut, and one can be mapped to black coffee. All right? So there you go. That is, like I said, now if you have millions of coffees, millions of orders coming in, they're all going to be pointing to the same coffee object, so you don't have to also have a million different coffee objects. And when that goes over the span of time, a long time, that saves you heaps and heaps and heaps of memory space allocation on your server itself, which is very important because you don't want to be running out of memory. All right, cool. Another sip of water. So there you go. Those are design patterns in a nutshell. Okay, those are I wanted to sort of peel it back a little bit, take the mystery out of it, and make it seem hopefully less confusing, less scary. Take the mystery out of it. Hopefully, if I've been able to do that for you, then I've successfully completed my task, which is to explain what design patterns are all about and show you examples of them. So what we've learned today is we've learned obviously what a design pattern is. We've learned that they are very important because it's all about learning from the past, learning from past mistakes. We're taking these design patterns and applying them to our code because we know that they are time and time again tested and they work, and they work. Okay, so that's why we're learning all this stuff. It's very important for you to learn this stuff and understand it and practice it yourself with your own code. Okay. There's a really cool resource that I want to have Carter post into the chat room. So Carter, get the link for the PDF document that's in my Dropbox. There's a really cool document that I found that actually outlines in nice visual ways the actual different types of design patterns and actually breaks it down into each category and shows you examples and shows you object models, and it's really cool. So Carter, go ahead, paste that in there. You guys can go ahead. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to really distribute this thing, but let's keep it secret. This is just for you guys because you're on the webinar now. I love you guys for that, by the way. Thank you so much. So go in, grab that, download it. I'm probably going to take it out of my Dropbox in about 2 days. So download it now, have it on your computer, and then I'm going to take it off my Dropbox just so there's no issues with legalities, etc., etc. Great resource. Very good. I got it from D-Zone. I'm a member of D-Zone. They love me there, so I'm sure there's no issue. But just in case, download it now and get it before it goes away. Cool. So let me go into the next fun part, which is the next free ebook giveaway. Yay! So we're going to give away a second ebook. Let me just go in and see now if Carter has randomly picked a name for me. Oh, good. We've already got some questions coming in. That looks good. We're going to get to those in a second. Free ebook giveaway. He has not put it in the document. Shame on you, Carter, but it looks like he's given me a name on my Skype, which is, oh boy, Nikhil Khatri. Nikki, I'm terrible with names. I apologize. So congratulations to Nikhil Khatri. You have won yourself a free copy of my How to Program Java ebook, bestseller on Amazon. Very cool. Well, you know what? I'm going to give away one more of these. If you haven't already gone in and put in a comment, do so now. Go to the Facebook link that you see on the screen. Maybe Carter can paste that in there as well. Keep him on his toes and nice and busy. Click on there, leave a comment, say hi, let us know where you're from, and maybe something quirky about yourself. Like I said earlier, I play guitar. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I'm a big guitar player and I love it. So by all means, yeah, go leave a comment and you can win one more, the last copy of my free ebook. Very, very cool. So now let's move on to the really fun stuff. Okay, so this is where the real value comes in for you guys. All right, and this is the part I'm really most excited about. I've put together, like I said at the beginning of this webinar, I put together a special video tutorials package. Okay, so the package I put together is a full year's access to the all-in Java video tutorials package. Normally, this goes for around $360. Okay, for the full year, $360. I've discounted it heavily to 45% discount. You can get it yourself right now on this webinar for $197. This, trust me, is a fantastic deal. What it includes, if you're not already familiar with Java video tutorials, it has 45 hours, okay? 45 hours of video tutorials. So if you sort of like my teaching style, if you liked what you learned about today, you're going to love these videos. I take you from step one to sort of step done in terms of learning about the Java programming language. I teach you what applications to use, what you need to download, how to install them on your computer. I get into that sort of finite level of detail because I've seen out there other people don't have that all in one space. They skip by all these details and just assume that you know these things. And whenever it was that I was trying to learn these programming concepts and whatnot, I didn't know these things, so it's really, really helpful to have someone to show you exactly what you need to do and what you need to install and how to install it. So yeah, that's what's included in there, 45 hours worth of stuff. Plus there's online tests that you get access to. You'll be able to fill out these tests online when you are logged into the Java Video Tutorials system itself. You can take these tests. There's written answers. There's multiple choice answers. It's a great way to cement into your brain exactly how to apply what you've learned, right? Because if you can learn, the best way to learn is to apply yourself, all right? So you use these tests. They're challenging tests. I'll say that right now. A great way to know what you've learned, what you haven't learned, all right? There's also exercise files in there, just like you saw today. You saw me coding live in front of you. You'll get access to all those exercise files throughout all the tutorials. I include them for every single one, so it's really cool. You can go, I show you how to install them. You can get the code itself, put it on your computer, and go through the exercise files and just sort of play around with it. Very, very good way to learn. Plus, I give you access to very, very challenging assignments. So assignments are sort of what killed me in university when I was, back in my prime days in university. I give you some really challenging assignments, and you can go through them and actually apply yourself and try to solve these assignments. They're, like I said, difficult, and they're done on purpose like that because you're going to know exactly where the gaps are in your knowledge when you fill out these assignments. Now, here's the really cool thing. Once you've finished the assignment, or if you're really, can't do it anymore, you're throwing in the towel, I actually have videos that goes and walks through exactly how to solve those assignments, okay? Video walkthroughs of me coding the way I would do it. Might not be the absolute perfect way to do it, but it shows you exactly how someone with 5-10 years of programming experience actually does it. Okay, so you're gonna be able to see it right there in front of your eyes. Very, very cool. Like I said, this price is heavily discounted, and I swear to you, this is not available anywhere else. This is the best price that I offer on the internet. So you can go if you want to. By all means, javavideotutorials.net/webinar. You can put in your order, or you can click, there's a link below this video. So if you're not in full screen mode in this video, you'll see there's a link there. It says special Java Video Tutorials package. Click on that bad boy, you can go and order, all right? Very, very cool, but we're not done. There's also a bonus you can get. You can get the How to Program in Java ebook as a bonus. I'm including it inside of this package. Jam-packed with cool stuff, 236 pages. I don't want to waste all your time talking about the book.
It was a Amazon bestseller. It has exclusive video content that's only in the book itself. It's nowhere else, just in the book. Plus, this is probably the coolest part. It has audio podcasts embedded inside of the book itself. So these are really cool because you can take the learning on the road. You can hit the road. You can be in your car. You could be going for a walk with your dog. You could be exercising at the gym, and you can be learning Java at the same time. This is probably the biggest game changer in my life is podcasts. So these things, it gives you a taste of them. They're included inside the book, embedded inside. They're all organized in the right place so you can learn by reading as well as by watching videos and by listening, and really help cement that all into your brain. It's fantastic stuff. Great ebook. Absolutely free, included in the package, the $197 for the full year's access. And I'm not done. As another bonus, what I'm doing is for people who take fast action today, who go in before the end of this webinar. So if you're interested in getting this, you need to do it before this webinar ends. We're going to hit the Q&A section real quick, and we're going to go through the questions and whatever. By the time we're done there and done the webinar, if you want to, you can take advantage and purchase. If you haven't by the end of the webinar, unfortunately this one goes away, but it's really, really cool. It's an upgrade to the Platinum membership, okay? This is a $400 value product, okay? And it gives you access to my online community of coders. We call it Coders Campus. You can actually interact with these coders directly. I have a private Facebook group. You can talk to them. You can talk to me. I interact in there all the time. You can get access to me if you have problems with like your assignments or something like that. I'll hop in there and I can help you out with your assignments. I might even post a video walkthrough of your assignments. There's someone in there we're gonna be posting a a mock interview. So I'm actually gonna be interviewing him just like I would, because I did that in my professional career. Mr. Stephen Cunliffe, if he's still on the line, he knows we did some interviews together with some people. I'm gonna interview you through like a thing like this, like a Google Hangout, and put you on the spot, and I'm going to make you sweat, and I'm going to hit you with all the questions that I would normally hit someone if I was actually hiring them, and you can go back and forth with me, and I'll actually tell you how you did at the end, and I'll give you pointers. I mean, if you nailed it, I'll certainly let you know. If you didn't nail it, we can go over exactly what you need to work on. Just lots of really, really cool stuff in there. It's seriously probably the best part of this entire thing. All is involved inside of Coders Campus. So if you order right now on the webinar, before it ends, you get a free upgrade to the Platinum membership. Super, 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 super cool. Very, very cool stuff. So now, before I get to the questions that hopefully Carter has, I think I saw 4 in there. Hopefully there's more than just 4. I want to do the third ebook giveaway, because why not? So let me see if Carter has gone in and put in another name into the, let's see. No, he hasn't put another name in yet. He hasn't even Skyped me yet either. So thank you, Carter, for pulling through there and not giving me what it is I asked for. So let me go to the Facebook group itself. I've done this already. And let me refresh, and I'll randomly pick a name for the free winner of the ebook itself. Let me see. Where have we gone here? Okay. Oh, 23 comments in there. That's insane. So let me just sort of move my mouse up and down, back around. So my eyes landed on Rafael Rivero. Rafael Rivero, you have won yourself the last free copy of the How to Program with Java ebook. Congratulations to you, good sir. I guess Carter, you can take a look and paste his information into that worksheet for me, so that I actually will be able to get in touch with Rafael after this webinar. Cool. So now let's jump into the questions section. It looks like we have, okay, a bunch of questions. So the first one is, how is this special compared to the subscription package you offer on your page? Is it the Platinum level membership? Okay, so it's a question about this package itself. So yes, if you order today, right now on the webinar, before this webinar ends, you do get the Platinum level membership. If you have to wait and go until afterwards, that's fine. I don't want to pressure you into buying anything right now. But I do know and I do feel like this is going to be an incredible way to launch your programming career forward. Okay. If you don't order, then you get access to the all-in package. The all-in package unlocks all the videos right away, right on the spot. You can access all 45 hours. Like I said, you have access to the tests, assignments, all that good stuff, exercise files, and that's yours for $197. Like I said, that's 45% discounted. Plus, you get the free copy of the ebook itself, which is really cool. So inside, let's see, did you go over design patterns in your book as well? Actually, that's a really good question. Did I go over design patterns in my book? I can't remember off the top of my head because I published it in 2012. I would expect that I would have talked about some design patterns. Let me open up my my window here. Let me go to Java video tutorials just to show you guys a little bit more about the video tutorials that you could potentially get. I can go through, so this is the 45 hours, 45 plus hours, I should say, of videos. And let's see, so video 1, my computer's sort of freezing at the moment. Let me give it a moment to catch its breath and be able to keep up with me, because I'm sure I'm going at a fast pace for it. Have a sip of water. So I have, the first video I go through and actually explain how to set up all the tools and everything that you're going to need to get started with programming. Then you're going to get into the actual variables. So we're going to talk about variables, control structures. We talk about everything you need to know about Java programming, okay, from start to finish. Let's see what we got. Control structures, data structures, which is, like I was saying, the hash map. If you're not familiar with hash maps or maps in general, we talk about data structures, primitive types, methods. We talk about objects, inheritance, exceptions, string manipulation, overriding, overloading. So it's absolutely packed with everything that you need to know about Java. Okay, enumerated types, sorting. I have a really cool poker assignment that I assigned. That's probably the most fun I've had with an actual assignment. You create like a Texas Hold'em poker game. Really challenging, really cool stuff. I talk about unit testing and mocking, which are things that I know my good buddy Stephen Cunliffe on this webinar, for sure he loves. I love doing it too. It's a great way to make sure that your code is as bulletproof as it can possibly be. We have, GUIs. I talk about some stuff with respect to Swing and how to build a Java GUI. I talk about HTML, JavaScript, jQuery. It's jam-packed. It's insane what I have in here. JSPs. I talk about the Spring framework, so how you can build an actual web application. It's really cool stuff. All right. If I talk about design patterns in there, I honestly can't remember. I'm sure I must talk about them at some point because they are important. I even teach about SQL in here. I teach about some frameworks and how to use SQL. So you actually end up creating an entire web application. You create a social media app that people can actually log into and create an account for and post messages inside of the social media app that you yourself create and make live and put it live on the web. So it's really cool. I absolutely love that stuff. Anyway, really long answer to a really short question. Let me go back and look at some questions. How long does the Platinum membership last? So you know what, guys? I've been thinking about this, and I think what I'm going to do on this webinar, I'm going to change it so that it's not just the 1 year. I'm going to change it for the whole package, okay? The whole package for $197, I'm going to make it a lifetime for everything. So you have lifetime access to the How to Program with Java video tutorials, lifetime access to the ebook, obviously, and lifetime access to Coders Campus. Because I often get questions from people saying, I don't have enough time to dedicate, and my subscription's running out, and I'm, can I put my account on pause, and so that when I have more time, I can hop on it. I don't like that. I don't like putting restrictions on people, so it just makes sense. Let me just do a lifetime for this, guys, and you can have full access. So I don't even know what value that is now. It's $360 a year for the video tutorials, so multiply that by a few years, and it's many thousands of dollars that this package is worth, that I'm going to be giving away for $197. I may regret that later, but hey, I love you guys, so let's do it. Cool. So what else we got here? Is the flyweight what some know as flywheel? I think flywheel is something on a car, if I'm not mistaken. If there is such a thing as a flywheel pattern, it's probably the exact same thing as a flyweight pattern. That's probably just a goof in terms of someone not knowing exactly what's going on there. So let me see. So it says I've already purchased the unlock of all the video tutorials. Does this package have additional stuff? So yes, if you've already unlocked the video tutorials, you will get full access, now lifetime access, to Coders Campus. All right. So I mean, I think that's about a $400 value right there. It's completely up to you. I mean, if you feel like you would get a lot of benefit from being able to talk to other programmers, talk to myself, ask me questions, ask them questions, just have an overall sort of group of people who are like-minded, who have the same goals in mind, it's really powerful stuff. In my opinion, I mean, I belong to a few groups where that's the case, and they're called mastermind groups. And I attribute a lot of my learning to my mastermind group. I learn a lot from the people who share the same interests and goals that I do. So by all means, you'll get access to that. It'll be really, really cool. Let's see, will there be updates offered on tutorials for Java 8? Now, I haven't done any videos for Java 8, but that is absolutely something that we can talk about inside of Coders Campus. Because Java 8, you got to keep this going. You got to keep updated on the new and noteworthy type of stuff. So I will absolutely be creating videos with respect to what's new and noteworthy in terms of the new and upcoming Java stuff. And I can go through and I can parse the information and create some videos on it. That'll be exclusive to Coders Campus. Okay. I probably won't be able, to put them into my Java video tutorials because that's now closed. So yeah, that'll be Coders Campus. Let's see, what else we got? Is there any way to get the slides? Oh, very, very good. Sure, why not? I will go ahead and put the slides together into a document, and you guys can get access to them. Just send me whoever asked that question, just send me an actual message directly through the How to Program with Java Facebook group. So go to the facebook.com/howtoprogramwithjava. Just say, hey, can I get a copy of the slides, and I'll shoot them over to you. Also, this webinar will still be available for the next 2 days. So this webinar, as well as the actual package that I've talked about, the special package, they're going to be available until, I believe, end of day on Saturday. So it's going to be available for the next 2 days for you to go in and take advantage of it. All right, Trevor, can you please send us the recorded video since some of us have a problem with internet connection? Well, there you go. It's going to be recorded and available for the next 2 days. So as soon as I click on the stop button for this video, you'll be able to go to this exact same page that you're on right now, and you're going to be able to rewatch the video for the next 2 days. So that way you can download it in its, to its fullest extent and be able to watch the whole thing. Why do you want 4 references to the same object? So this is back to probably a singleton. And again, like I said, with a singleton pattern, this really applies to things like data access objects. So it's very useful to have one instance and 4 pointers to the same instance, because you could be wanting to access that data access object from everywhere inside of your application. If you have a web application, let's say we have an object that will query the database and get like a user information. Okay. Now let's say across your application there's many, many times when you want to be able to access a user from the database, right? So you're going to call the database access object that deals with getting the user, but you don't want to have to create a new instance of that data access object every single time, because that would be expensive. Okay, it's expensive to do that, to create many, many database connections. So it's perfectly fine to have one instance. You have many, many different people pointing to the same instance, single instance, and be able to get access to your database. Okay, so that's exactly the real-world application of the singleton pattern. Okay, can you talk a little bit about programming to an interface and not an implementation when using design patterns? Okay, so programming to an interface is definitely something that is important. I absolutely talk about interfaces inside of the Java Video Tutorials package. I don't want to get into that as a topic right now because that's kind of a loaded question. There's a lot behind programming to an interface. It's an object-oriented methodology. I mean, that programming to an interface is not just something that's particular to Java. It's across every object-oriented language itself. Okay, programming to an interface is always a good idea because it allows for nice, reusable code. Okay, cool. Let's see what else we got here. Can you talk? Oh, I already said that. Am I right in saying that when you created an order for coffee and you put in vanilla, it adds it to the map? So if I wrote vanilla swag, that would now be a flavor. Yes, you are correct in thinking that when you have an actual object you want to create. You call it a vanilla swag or whatever other flavor of coffee that you like. As soon as you put it into that actual constructor or whatever it was that we had created, once you put it in there, it will create that as a new flavor of coffee, and that will now be part of your subset, or not like a subset, that will be part of your overall objects that you have that represent the coffee in general, okay? So you'll have your, 4 or 5 flavors. You'll have your black coffee, your vanilla, your hazelnut, and now your vanilla swag, okay? So that'll be a brand new object. But again, it's all about keeping the number of instances low, okay? Because you want to save in memory space. You don't want to go crazy with taking up, a lot of memory with millions of instances of the coffee objects, all right? Let me take another sip. Great question so far, guys. Very, very cool. I don't think I see any more questions popping up in there. Let's see. All right, so let me see what else we can. I don't see any other questions. Let me hop in the actual chat room and see what you guys are talking about. Because I want to give you guys as much time as you possibly can to think it over and maybe take advantage of this offer. Because like I said, once this webinar ends, once the Q&A session ends, then I don't have the access to the Coders Campus anymore. I won't be able to give that away just because I've said it, and I don't want to go back on my word. So if you want to, you can take fast action, and if you put your name in and you order, you'll get access to the full package that you see on the screen right now. Like I said, it's actually more than $772 of value because it's a lifetime access, and I'm doing that for you guys because I think that just makes the most sense, and I just want to be as nice as possible to you guys and give you guys the best chance that you possibly could get to go forward in your career, right? Because that's what it's all about. When I first started learning about Java, there was no course I could take except for going through university that taught me how to program. I didn't have access to something like Java video tutorials, which is why I went and created it. And I have now, I think there's 1,500 students are in there right now. If I'm not mistaken at last count, it's definitely over 1,000 students are in there learning every day all about Java stuff. And quick little interesting fact, I built the whole Java video tutorials platform on Java itself. I built it myself from scratch, from 0 lines of code. I built the whole thing out, and that was a learning experience in and of itself, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, I didn't have anything like that. There was nothing like that existed. So I mean, this is what I say is my MO. I love to teach. I love to be able to take someone from zero knowledge in programming to being able to get a job. That's the whole point of this course. That's the whole point of my existence right now. I had someone who actually was struggling with getting a job. He was going to different interviews. The technical part of the interviews was killing him. And he went through the Java Video Tutorials course and listened to the podcasts as well. The podcasts were cool and free. And I had some stuff on interview questions inside of the podcasts, and he went and listened to them over and over and over again, and he was able to go in to the next interview. And this is a story that he sent to me himself. He went into his next interview. It was with a large, was it like either a bank or no, it was a telecommunications company. He went into the telecommunications company in the interview, nailed it, nailed the interview, got the job, hired as whatever it was, junior level programmer, software engineer. I'm not sure what the exact title was, but he got it, and he got it because he went through and just listened to my teachings. And to me, that's what this is all about. Being able to reach out and help people, get better careers. I mean, if they're struggling with interviews, then by all means, that's great. People who aren't even working in the software industry right now, who let's say are working as, I don't know, maybe an accountant or something like that, but they're interested in programming because programming jobs are all the rage right now. Many people are hiring. Again, my buddy Steve and I saw that firsthand. Our company that I used to work for hires people every single week, okay, because programming jobs are in such high demand. So if you're someone who wants to switch careers and get into programming, boom, I mean, I don't think there's a better place that you can go. So, but that, obviously my opinion is slightly biased. So anyway, let me see if there's any more questions now. I've dragged this out as long as I could. It doesn't look like there are any more questions. Let me check my Skype. Cool. It looks like we are good to go. So let me now flip on over to. Looks like we've had. Let me close this down and go to I have a random name picker. I'll put this in. So the people who purchased already, looks like we have a few people that have come in and purchased. We have Mirko. Oh boy, I'm terrible with names. Mirko Kukic maybe has purchased. Sorry again if I've ruined your name. Rafael Rivero has purchased. Terry S. Barker, thank you guys for your purchase. They have actually gone through, so they're eligible and going to get the full upgrade to the Platinum membership. Congratulations for you guys. I know you're going to love it. I can't wait to meet you guys inside of Coders Campus and get to know you, right? So let's go ahead and actually one of these people, this is great. Maybe I'll drag this out just a little bit longer because like I said, there's only 3 people in there right now. So I'm going to pick one of those 3 to get a refund. They're going to win their refund, the full refund back into their wallets, okay? So this is going to be a completely free membership to Java Video Tutorials, unlimited access for unlimited amount of time, plus Coders Campus, plus the free ebook as well. So, I mean, I can put their names in, and I can drag this out as long as I can. So if you're on the fence, perhaps now is the time to go through and actually take the action of purchasing. Because, like I said, once this webinar is done, you're not going to be able to get that access to the Coders Campus. I know I've said that many times. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but just want to make sure you guys are completely clear on that. So now let me go to my random name picker. Let's see what we got. Oh, we just had a name or a question come in. Let me put my random name picker up here, and let me go to the names that have come in. I'll paste them into the random name picker. So these people are going to be eligible for receiving a free membership. They're going to get an instant refund. Boom, boom, boom. And let me go in and answer that question. Looks like Carter had one more. Said, what's the difference between using a map and an array? Like adding vanilla, black, and then checking if it's in the array. Okay, that's a good question. So an array is a different type of data structure, and it allows you to store just the one piece of information. So you get to store let's say it would be the coffee itself, right? Or the coffee type itself. And I think when I went through, you might be able to do it that way. And let me think about that. You would have to add the coffee object to your array or your list. So you add it to your array, and then when you would check to see if it already exists, you would have to loop through the array one element at a time to see if it exists. And if it does exist, you would return that instance from inside of the array. So I think that's doable. That's absolutely doable. And if you go in and create a new one, then you would just add a new object to the array itself. So there's a little bit more in terms of, so this gets into something called Big O notation, which is yet another thing I talk about inside of the Java Video Tutorials course. You can, there's more time that goes along when you're iterating through an array. So if you had a lot of objects in that array, it takes it takes big O of n amount of time. So it takes n time to iterate through any n number of objects in an array. Whereas with a hash map, being able to access an object inside of a hash map is constant time. It's order 1, which means that if there's a million objects in the hash map, it would take you the same amount of time to access one of those objects as it would if there was only 5 objects in that hash map. Versus an array, if there was 5 objects in the array, it would take you going through, worst case scenario, it would take you to the 5th try to find the object match, and you would return that one. But if you had a million objects in that array, then, it's going to take you a million iterations before, again, in the worst case, a million iterations before you find the object that you want to be looking for. So I suppose I use the hash map example because it's more efficient. It's a more efficient solution for this particular flyweight pattern. Okay, and that's what we're looking for, is efficiency. Cool. Good question. Very, very good question. Let me go back and see if there's anything else coming in. Looks like that's it. Now I'm going to actually hop in the chat and make sure that I'm not missing anything else, just in case my buddy Carter has fallen asleep. Maps typically have unique values. Arrays can contain duplicates. Oh, that's a good point too, Steve. Thank you. Arrays can contain duplicates, unless it's a set. When you're using a set, then you can get rid of the chances of a duplicate. Okay, cool. So let me check. I don't know if there's any more orders that have come in. Let's do the drawing. It looks like that's it, boys and girls. You have a 33% chance of winning. So let me go ahead, and hopefully all three of these guys are currently still logged in to the webinar itself. Looks like they may be. Hopefully they are. And we're going to go ahead now and do the giveaway. So let me do I had little sound effects that I had prepared earlier today. Let me see if I can find them, because I think they're pretty fun. Was it in Google Effects? I think it was. Let me go and see if I can find my sounds. And all right, here we go. Boom, sounds. So the winner now getting a full refund of the Java video tutorials package I just talked about is, drum roll please, boom, there you go, Terry S. Barker. Congratulations. You have won your copy of the Java video tutorials package that you just purchased. So I will be refunding that amount back to your account. Very, very good, sir. Happy to have you in here doing this whole thing. Very, very cool. Also, obviously, this package is still available for you now. I'm going to be taking down the link, but you can still get access to the video tutorials itself, 45 hours of content, plus the free ebook included in that package at a 45% discount, and I will still extend the lifetime for that as well. So you can still get that as a lifetime package, lifetime access to Java video tutorials, everything you need to get started as a programmer. All right, excellent, very cool. I think that's just about it. That wraps it up. I had tons of fun. I can't wait to do the 9 p.m. one for this workshop. I'm hopefully you guys have got a lot of value out of this. Hopefully you've downloaded that sort of cheat sheet that I was talking about earlier with all the different design patterns in there. Yeah, hopefully you loved it and you can walk away and you've learned something here that is of value. If you've done that, then like I said, I've done my job correctly, and that's what I live to do. Cool. So take care of yourselves, guys. All the best, and if you want to come back to 9 p.m. one, by all means you can. I would love to welcome you and see you again there. If not, if you liked it, share this with your friends. Maybe they can go to the 9 p.m. showing, and we will kill it then. So, all the best to you guys. Have the very best day that you possibly can, and it's almost the weekend, so put a smile on your face, and I'll talk to you all later. Take care now.